So, we've done this before. Talk about we talking about black people, how we've always resisted racism. Talk about the
Right.
Great Dismal Swamp and how
Okay.
we got away from that, and how we used to use that to get away and then whoop ass when people came.
Okay. No, look, I would say to you, my family lived in the Great Dismal Swamp. And there are other families that live in Virginia, North Carolina, that are the descendants of the people who had the largest maroon colony north of the Everglades. I had family in the Everglades too. A lot of black folks are descendants of people who would not be enslaved. Okay. They're finding now through research that there was a huge colony of black people that lived in an area, a swamp that was up to anywhere from a quarter of a million, 100,000 to a quarter of a million acres of land was a swamp. And black folks lived in it alongside, well, black Indians, blacks all got there because they didn't want to be under white people, the same way the Seminoles, which is basically a group of Indians, Creeks, and other people that moved into South Georgia and Florida so they didn't have to be under white people. In the Dismal Swamp, the black people lived there with the alligators and everything else, and the white people were afraid to go in there because the folks would kill them. You could get in, but you wouldn't come out. It was like a roach motel if you were a cracker. On top of that, when the people were short on food, they'd come out, kill white people, take the shit they wanted, and come back in. The white folk were afraid to go in. It's sort of like how Compton used to be until the Mexicans took over black people, right? The police go at nighttime because they get lit up. Even when Nat Turner was trying to escape. He was trying to get into the swamp. The reason United States Marines were sent out was to keep Nat Turner from getting into the Dismal Swamp because they were afraid he'd bring these niggas out who didn't care about nobody. They'd bring them out, then they'd really have some shit go on. So they got Nat Turner's ass. They locked the whole country down to get one and keep him out of one area. The U.S. Marines, as bad as they're supposed to be, one place they never did try to go into, they never went to the Dismal Swamp because they were afraid they weren't going to get out. The same way the Marines went into the Everglades and they got their asses beat by the Seminoles down there. It bankrupted the country. The black people that were fighting these wars against the U.S. government were breaking the back of this country economically. And they didn't need this stuff. So, how did I learn about this? One thing I'll tell you, a whole lot of people are like me. A lot of what happened because of how racist and unfair this country is, your grandparents and great aunts and uncles never told you anything about anything.
Yeah.
Everything's a secret because these were secret societies. They could not, you didn't know. I had family involved in the Underground Railroad. The way that they handled it is that you don't tell children anything. That way, if they got caught or captured, they couldn't tell you where anybody was because they didn't know anything. You don't tell people names. You give their nicknames. So someone come looking, you can't find them because the nickname isn't the name, isn't their slave name, right? So let's say your name would be Bunny instead of Brown.
Uh-huh.
So, oh yeah, Bunny. They'd look for Bunny, can't find no damn Bunny. That's the only name you know. Haven't you met people you never knew their names?
Yeah, I
Folks
never
don't
understood.
realize
Yeah, that's a definitely. I never really understood that cultural connection. That makes 100,000% truth.
it's
Yeah.
to for people to not even be able to. It's on a need to know basis of who's what. Go to someone's house and ask them what their proper name is. Who the fuck are you? That's the first. What? What do you
Uh-huh.
need to know my name for? They act like a name is like asking their dick size or
You're
how
right
often.
about that. You have an uncle that you've been calling JT your whole life. Come to find out,
And
you
you
don't
don't.
realize until you get to the funeral that his name was Bobby Earl.
Yeah, and nobody told you. And when you ask folks, they get angry. So you learn not to
Not
ask
to even
questions.
ask. Yeah.
I came up in a family. If you ask questions, you got slapped and beaten. So you don't ask about. We didn't know anything.
Hmm.
Just don't ask. Don't get beat.
Yeah.
And all of this is to cover up for the shit that my grandfather and them were involved in. I only learned after my grandfather died that we had been lied to about practically everything or beat when we asked certain questions. And my cousin, who's still living, had to explain to me what was going on, why there was so much confusion, why there are no names. I don't know anyone's names. I can't figure out where people are from. I'm trying to do genealogy and I'm pissing my grandfather off because I'm digging up stuff that they don't want anybody to understand. See, a lot of people that are younger, like the little millennial assholes watching this, they don't recall what I remember. There's a case down in Alabama in a town called Scottsboro where these two white whores lied on a bunch of black men and said they got raped. And one of the black men escaped to Detroit. What a lot of people don't know or they didn't live in. The states in America have extradition laws. So if you escaped a chain gang in Mississippi, they had a law to bring your ass back and put you back on the chain gang if people knew where you went. So people would go to cities of Chicago, change their name, make everything disappear because these folks would come looking for you decades later just to prove a point that white folk are in charge. So one of the Scottsboro boys got caught in the 70s. This shit happened in the 30s. They caught him after all those years, and they want to take and put him back in jail for something that they knew he didn't do. Are you understanding me?
Yeah.
Everybody knew that the white horse lied. The sperm was from white men, but they still. So when black folks would move to these cities, they would change their names. You don't talk about nothing. So you don't even know where your family is, because if you knew, they may come. And they used to take hostages in black families, take a child, take a woman, and make a person come back. Or we'll grab your family to make the bad nigga come back so we can put him in jail. So if nobody knows anything, because we're at war, brother, it's a war.
Yeah.
So you don't tell anybody anything. So I never heard from my grandfather. My grandfather had to be dead before I heard all this. And I'm thinking, damn, I've been trying to get this for 20 years. Right?
Yeah.
I've been trying, begging, going stuff, and my grandfather would lie, and you couldn't find anything.
Yeah.
That's how the old black people, unlike us that put their penises and vaginas and assholes up on Instagram and Facebook, the old black folk could keep their damn mouths shut. That's how they fought white supremacy, is that the white folk couldn't find out. It's a reason that they can't infiltrate the Asian and African gangs, is these people can keep their mouths shut.